You're listening to Business Lunch with Roland Frasier. This is your seat at the table.
So for everybody that's listening, not only is Cameron an amazing business person and he has his whole academy for COOs, but in addition to that, he's really, really fantastic with PR. Cameron, would you just kind of give folks your background just in case somebody doesn't know?
Sure. I guess what I'm well known for is I was the chief operating officer for a company called the 1-800-GOT-JUNK. And I took them from 14 employees up to 3,100 employees in 6 years. We went from 2 million in revenue to 106 million in revenue. We did that with giving up no equity and we had no debt. We also ranked as the number 2 company in Canada to work for. And then we were operating in 330 cities, 4 countries, and I executed that growth kind of behind the scenes running the operations. So in addition to that, that was my 4th time I'd done it. I did it with a private currency company that we built and sold 20 years ago. We had Starwood Hotels, Avis Rent-A-Car, Budget Rent-A-Car, Hard Rock Cafe, Bose Stereo, etc., all using our digital currency instead of the US dollar. So similar to what Bitcoin is doing, except we did it 20 years ago. I built out the largest collision repair chain in North America called Gerber Auto Collision in the US and Boyd Auto Body in Canada. And then opened the West Coast of the US for the largest house painting company in the world called College Pro Painters. So 1-800-GOT-JUNK was really my 4th kick at the can. And then 13 years ago, I left that company and I started coaching CEOs of real companies globally, typically 50 to 500 employees. And I've coached CEOs in 26 countries. I've done paid speaking events in about 25, 26 countries on 6 continents. I'm the author of 5 books. And then I started an organization 3 years ago called the COO Alliance, because there's been so many groups for entrepreneurs, but there was never a place for their second in command to actually come and learn with each other and from each other.
Yeah, and we sent one of our guys to that, and he just couldn't say enough wonderful things about it. So what are your thoughts about what's going on and what effect it's having on businesses and what you think people should do during this time?
It's interesting. I just got off a call with 50 of our members from the COO Alliance, and I'm doing a call with their CEOs tomorrow. But the call we got a pulse on when they feel it's going to be back to normal. And we used back to normal, meaning airlines are flying again for the most part everywhere, and restaurants are all open. That was like our back to normal. And the general pulse was 6 to 7 months is when people think it's back to normal. It's like an October, November period is when most people think we're back to normal. Mm-hmm. So the shift it's having on business is pretty substantial, where they're in crisis mode. They're risk mitigation, cutting expenses, cutting people, tired of the communication. So what we're trying to talk to people about now is to accept all that, understand all that, and tell the team, but we have to move forward. We have to drive towards revenue. We have to drive towards profitability. And I gave them an analogy or a story of a coaching client that I was working with this week. He does about 40 million in revenue. He makes wire, commercial and industrial wire. And he said everyone in his industry down by 30% on average this year. I said, that's cool. So I said, your fitness level, where are you against the average American? He goes, I'm in the top 1 to 5% for fitness. Like, okay, how about your income level, wealth? He goes, dude, I'm in the top 1% on income. I said, well, how about your business against all others in your industry? He goes, we're definitely in the top 5%. So I'm like, if you're top 1% wealth, top 5% on health, top 5% of your industry, why the are you budgeting to be average this year? Because to be down by 30% average means some are down by 50, some are down by 70, some are out of business, some are down by 10, some are up by 30. Mm-hmm. Why don't you budget to be up by 30, plan to be up by 30, drive to be up by 30, get people re-engaged on being up by 30? He's like, holy shit, can we start talking about those acquisitions again? I'm like, yeah, like acquisitions are free right now. Every 60-year-old is terrified. They all want to sell. They don't have 10 years in them to do this again. Yep. They'll take 30% over the next 5 years and 70% bank debt, and bank money is it's a time for the good CEOs and the good executives to say, we know it's scary. We know it's hard, but we're going to be the ones who are successful. You're either with me or we're going to leave you in the dust. And employees more than ever right now want to follow. All of the real kind of noisy Gen Y that we're always kind of pushy and shovey, and they all want to follow, and it's time for leaders to lead more than ever.
I love it. So now after the COO thing, and I know you're still doing the Alliance, but you really got into PR. Were you in PR originally as part of the junk company or?
Yes and no. So I learned some of the secrets around publicity about 30 years ago when I was running my house painting company. I was 20 years old and I had 12 employees painting houses. I had a house painting company that I owned for 3 years in university. And I phoned a newspaper one day and I said, hey, I got a great story for you. And I pitched them the story and they said, well, can we come out and take a picture and write the story this afternoon? And I was like, that was easy. Like one call, 100% close ratio. So then I called the TV station and they covered me. So I did 2 calls, 100% close ratio. And that was the model that I used to build all the other companies and getting free PR. So when I joined 1-800-GOT-JUNK, again, there were 14 people in the company. Brian and I were talking about PR and he'd landed a few stories as well. And I said, we had to do 3 big things to grow the company. Number 1 was raise our prices by 40% because no one was going to make money charging as little as we were. So we had to be the premium like the FedEx or Starbucks of junk removal. Second was we had to turn our company into a cult. It had to be a little more than a business, a little bit less than a religion to be in that zone of a cult. And that's why we ranked number 2 in Canada to work for. And the third was we had to leverage PR and get so much press about our company that everyone would believe the press coverage. We didn't have money for advertising, but we knew if we could get press, that third-party credibility, even today where we talk about the fake news, people still believe everything they read or see on TV or radio, et cetera. So we built an in-house PR team I took it up to 6 full-time people that had no PR experience whatsoever. We never used PR firms. We never wrote newswires or press releases, and we only picked up the phone. They still do it that way today because everyone else is pinging journalists with emails. Journalists get 4 phone calls a day. Typically it's their mom, their daughter, somebody else on the news desk, and us. We get through to them all the time. We pitch them on the story and they tend to write it. Nice. So we had 5,200 stories about our company prior to Facebook launching. So we had nowhere to amplify it. Nowadays, we call that the digital trifecta, that we could have taken our press stories and linked them to our website. Couldn't do it. Could have put them on social media. Couldn't do it. Could have bought ad traffic to the stories. Couldn't do it. Nowadays, now that's why they're a $450 million brand, is they're able to kind of amplify the press that they're getting. But we were on Oprah, 6-minute episode on Oprah. We were on Dr. Phil 17 times. We got ourselves into 3 movies. We were on, in every major print magazine that you know of, in the print edition, right? Like Forbes, Fortune, all of it.
Right.
Newspapers, et cetera, et cetera.
That's pretty great.
And I cover this in my book, Free PR. The book, Free PR, is, I'm not trying to sell books. Like, trust me, I'm not going to make rich on like $8 a copy. The book Free PR, though, lays out the entire manual on how to land it, how to build an in-house PR team. It doesn't lead to there's no sales funnel. I don't have anything to sell. There's no back end. It gives you the manual of how we did it at 1-800-GOT-JUNK. And I originally wrote the first 20 pages that became the book. I wrote for grasshopper.com. David Hauser hired me to write it for him to in-house PR team 10 years ago. So it gives you step-by-step on how to do it, including what I'll walk you through now. Every company has 5 core PR stories already. They have the overcoming adversity story. It's how they're getting through tough times, how they got through this COVID crisis, how they got through a recession, how they got through, a debt crisis, how they got through whatever. It's that overcoming adversity story. And the media loves to talk about that because it does 2 things. If it bleeds, it leads, and it inspires others. So it hits both of those things for them. The second story we have is kind of the entrepreneurial startup. It's like that entrepreneurial seizure. You had that crazy idea and you went out and started the business. And you talk about how we started this thing. So you talk about what the impetus was, how you decided to start it and where it came from and the struggles to build it. And again, that's that entrepreneurial story. That story is told day in and day out and day in and day out everywhere. The third story that we have is the culture story. And it's how we're turning our companies into magnets for talent, or how we're taking our teams from offline to online, or how we're turning our companies into, places where people don't care about the perks, but they're here for the cause. They're here for the core values. Again, business media loves that stuff, as do the trade journals. Anyone in the trade loves that stuff because it's something new that they can't really perceive. Remember something as well when it comes to PR, and then I'll go to the next 2. Every single morning, every single journalist wakes up and sits down at their desk and thinks, what the heck am I going to write about today?
Yeah.
They have to come up with a new story every single day. So you're not telling them or asking them to write about your company. What you're doing is calling them and saying, hey, do you have 2 minutes? I think I have a good story for you. And they're going to say, sure, what's the story? If you send them an email as a follow-up, say, give me a call back. I think I have a good story for you. Don't put the fucking story in the email. And if you leave a voicemail message, say, hey, it's Pat calling from Baker or from Mobius. I think I've got a great story for you. Give me a phone call. It'll only take 2 minutes. They're going to call you back because it makes their job easy. Just don't pitch them over the phone, and don't pitch them until you kind of get them in front of you. The next one is your technology tools, how you're using technology tools to scale your business. And they all love the hacks and apps and technology tools. You know, anybody at War Room, we're already pretty adept with all this stuff. But I assure you, 95% of the companies out there didn't know about Zoom until 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Let alone Asana and like drip campaigns. And like, you know, my brother's run his own company for 20 years. He has no idea what a sales funnel is. I talk about a lead magnet. He thinks I'm a moron. Doesn't have no idea. So teaching the general populace or becoming the online person for the offline world, that's a big story. And the last one, and this is what I get most excited about. Okay, so we've got like, let's say they're in Salt Lake City, right? So we've got a client in Salt Lake City who loves our product. We're going to contact every single media outlet in Salt Lake City to talk about why our knives were so special, what they did, how they made our customers' lives, whatever the story is about our customer. We make the story about our customer, ideally with a photo op, because they all love photos in the stories. You pitch them that idea. You'll get 2 or 3 media pieces in Salt Lake City. But then what you do is you find a client in Chicago. I'll bet you've got a good client in Chicago too. I'll bet you've got one in Dallas. I'll bet you got one in San Francisco. I'll bet you got one in Boston. I'll bet you have a good client in every single Major League Baseball city, every single NFL city, every single NHL hockey city. You do the same different day. You pitch every outlet in Chicago for a week. Then you pitch every outlet in Boston for a week. Then you pitch everyone in Dallas. After 50 weeks, you've pitched the 50 major cities. You can go back to story 1 and do it all again. And that was how we did 1-800-GOT-JUNK, was we pitched the same story week after week after week for 6 years. And the media just kept writing the stories. If you go on my press page, if you go on CameronHerold.com and my media page, or you go on the COAlliance.com and go on their media page, you'll see me personally in the print edition of Forbes, the print edition of Fortune, the print edition of American Airlines, USA Today, Wall Street Journal. It's the same stuff, just by picking up the phone and saying, hey, do you have 2 minutes? I think I have a good story.
That's pretty awesome.
And I cover this in Free PR, was we hijacked a movement. So the Vancouver Canucks, which was our hockey team, made it into the Stanley Cup playoffs. They got into the first round of the playoffs. So we decided to wear blue wigs to cheer on our Vancouver Canucks for the Stanley Cup. And we phoned the media and said that we were challenging all the other businesses to wear blue wigs so they came out and filmed us, and then they got a picture of us, and then the news wanted to cover it. And then our guy in PR said, and we're giving away 1,000 blue wigs at the first home game next week. We didn't have 1,000 blue wigs, but we went and got them. We imported them from the US. We made people line up. We said, do you promise to wear this the entire game? Put it on their head for them, said blue wig power. We had 1,000 people lined up one at a time, caused a huge media frenzy. We ended up with 67 media articles over a 2-week period because we created this movement on a movement that already existed. We just hijacked the Stanley Cup playoffs excitement and put our brand into that without permission. And we ended up selling blue wigs and donating the money to Canuck Place for charity. The Canucks lost in the first round. We're like, what the are we going to do with all these extra wigs that we now had? Because we bought 2,500 more. We shipped 10 cases of wigs to Toronto, and the Toronto Maple Leafs colors are blue and white. We did the same push in round 2 of the playoffs, cheering on the Toronto Maple Leafs. And no one ever noticed that we'd just been cheering on the Canucks, and now we'd changed over the Leafs. No one noticed, no one cared. 43 stories in that market over the next 2-week period.
I love it. I love it. How do you get the phone numbers of the media? Is there any particular title of person that you look for, and how you get all that?
Great question. So there's a couple of databases that exist. The first one is Cision, CISION. I talk about these again in the book Free PR. Also I think it might be owned by PR Newswire now. There's another one called Muckrack. There's a few different databases out there of journalists, and it includes the stories they write, their emails, their phone numbers. Most of them will say, do not phone me. We're phoning you because we're trying to help you. So we're not selling you. We're offering you a story, and they're always very receptive to that. All that ever happens when you phone them is they say, no, I'm really busy. In which case we say, well, great. Can I call you tomorrow or Monday? Or they say yes, and we start pitching them on the stories. So Peter Shankman actually wrote the cover story or the foreword for the book Free PR for me. I've known Peter forever, who started Help a Reporter out at Haro. Haro is really a source for writers who are already writing a story. You'll be included with the other 75 or 100 people who pitch. This is how you pitch somebody direct one-on-one. So the one-on-one pitch is what I love. I like Haro, though, as a way to get some additional stories happening. The other way to do it, if you're just trying or just starting out in this, is just hop on Google and just search them up. You'll be surprised at how many people actually have that contact information. If you put in the person's name and then cell or name, mobile, you can connect with them that way. You can also connect with them off and off Twitter. Most journalists are on Twitter. Just ping them and say, hey, do you have 2 minutes for a quick phone call? I think I have a good story for you. If they say, yeah, what is it? Just say, let's hop on a quick call. It's a little bit complicated, but you'll get it over the phone. Just play hard to get. Don't give it away until you're on the phone with them.
Do you think that traditional media outlets are as important as they were 5, 10, 20 years ago?
I think that traditional media outlets are more important in some ways because you can amplify it. So if you think about let's say that you get a physical print edition of Forbes magazine. So the world is littered with Forbes writers that are writing, but you're in a physical I could go to my bedroom right now and grab the magazine that I was in 2 years ago, page 17, like the whole page article by the publisher, Rich Karlgaard, about me. The fact that I can send that out to clients, I can send out actual copies of it to clients, I can screenshot it and share it, I can share it on Instagram, and I can get the online link, put it on my profile page, put it on all my Facebook pages, buy ad traffic towards it. You kind of amplify it. So think of the offline stories or the traditional media stories as the log on the fire. The gasoline that you pour on top of it is all the social media and the ad boosts and the traffic that you drive towards it. Because the more people that when Sheryl Sandberg and I were written up in Fortune magazine 2 years ago on the rise of the COO group, no one saw the fucking article. I mean, it was in the physical print edition of Fortune. It was online on Fortune. Nobody saw it. I've spent a couple $1,000s making sure people have seen it. And if I was Roland, or if I had Roland on the team, Roland would probably be buying $100,000 towards it in the right way. I'd probably have 50 more members overnight, because that third-party credibility is so much stronger than, hey, look at my landing page, or believe me, right? So I think it's more, Roland, you guys in the digital marketing world would understand how to take this really good content and how to amplify that. I think that's where it really comes from. Much more so, even when we were on Oprah, the phone rang, but like it didn't change our business when we were on Oprah.
Right.
But the fact that I can talk about being on Oprah for 17 years has changed our business.
Yeah. When you have a hot topic like the stimulus thing is the new stimulus cares package for us, what is it that you recommend as the next step to take action on in the newsworthiness of the topic?
You guys are really good at coming up with titles and copy and headlines. So, Roland, I don't know the terminology. Is it a headline? What's the caption? What's that word? Headlines. Mm-hmm. The headline is what you want to pitch to the writer. So you give them the writer, right? Like the dumbing down the care stimulus package, or Roland could come up with 15 of them off the top of his head. That becomes the headline that you're going to pitch with 5 supporting bullet points to explain it. That's all you need to call the journalist. So it could be how we're turning cash or trash into cash, how we're, the only COO group, or the only group in the world for COOs, or no CEOs are allowed. Like no CEOs allowed catches every journalist's attention. And then why aren't they allowed? And we explain the 5 bullets. So you want to come up with the headline and the 5 points.
How do you keep sustained interest across something? Like if you want to keep this kind of up in people's minds and you're pitching your PR, what are the different angles that you would take on something like that to keep it top of mind?
This is one of the kind of mysteries of PR, that when you're inside of it, it gets pretty intriguing. There's no such thing as investigative journalism. They can't afford to go out and find stories. And the reality is they're humans. Innately, they're a little bit lazy. And this isn't we're all lazy, right? We all want the path of least resistance. We all want whatever is frictionless. So you're handing them a story. They're probably going to write it. If not today, then maybe tomorrow. The reality is the story of the COVID-19 or the crisis, as long as you're turning the corner now to kind of getting away, they've already got enough if it bleeds, it leads stories. They've got enough fear-based stories. What they're looking for now is some inspiration. They're looking for some hope. So you've got to be on the front edge. If like a surfer, you want to be on the front edge of the wave of the news. That's all you really want to be doing.
Love it. Keeping everyone calm to make good decisions. How do you go about doing that, Cam?
Yeah, speed of the leader, speed of the group, right? The speed of the leader, the speed of the group. So you really, really have to come in as a calm leader. which means we have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of our own psyche, our own, like doing the meditation, doing yoga, breathing, only working 7 to 8 hours a day. We have to be able to show up calm and confident for our people to be able to follow that. But if we show up frazzled and nervous and scared and panicked, they're going to be doing that. I've been guilty of that in the last couple of weeks, getting caught up in all the media frenzy and posting on Facebook that has everybody scared. That doesn't necessarily build confidence in your employees when you're doing that stuff. So just being very cognizant of who you are and how you're showing up, I think, is the first thing to do. And then secondly, it's reminding people that, yeah, we get it. This is tough. This is brutal. It's like, this is the worst, the scariest. We don't have all the answers right now. But while we all understand that, this is a pretty good plan for us to at least follow right now. General Patton said, a good plan violently executed now is better than a perfect plan next week. Yeah. And I think that's really what people are looking for more than ever, is they're just dying to follow us. So if we come in with that quiet confidence and the calm and some plan, that they want to do something. They just don't know what it is right now.
I love it. That was great.
Yeah. I'll give you an example on the trade journal side of things, which was a really powerful lesson that I learned years ago. So what's interesting around trade journals is they have no money for investigative journalism. Like, they just can't afford to send someone out to go find a story. So what I did is this was back in the Got Junk days. I went to the largest trade show for the garbage industry. Trust me, you don't want to go. It's called Waste Expo. It's 5,000 people in the garbage industry. Most of them are mafia. It's kind of like the Sopranos on acid. These are big men with big machines. I don't fit in. What we decided to do is there's 4 trade journals that cover the garbage industry. I wanted to be covered in them. The reason I wanted to be covered in them was I was pitching all the big garbage companies to do a business development agreement where they would send us business because they don't do junk removal. We would give them a 10% fee, almost like a micro affiliate program with 10 garbage companies. Okay. So we were going to set them all up as affiliates. We pay them 10%. So I'm at the trade show talking to all these garbage companies, and they're like, who are you? And you guys are small and we don't know you. What they didn't know was on day one, 2 weeks before day one of the conference, we phoned the trade journals and said, our chief operating officer will be at Waste Expo. He wants to be talking to you about how we're launching this new deal with the garbage companies. Would you like to have him in your stories? They all said yes to meeting with me. So I went out and met with them and explained what we were doing. Then I spent the next 2 days picking all the garbage companies. Then 2 weeks after the trade show, all the journals get mailed out to all the garbage industry executives. And lo and behold, that Cameron Herold guy from that 1-800-GOT-JUNK company was on the front cover of 2 and on the inside of the other 2. We closed Waste Management, Oakleaf, and BFI because of the press that tied in with our marketing, that tied in with our sales. Had we not gotten that press, I still don't think we ever would have landed them.
Okay.
Because we became really strong because the media said we were really strong. What they felt like was the media must have uncovered at the trade show. The media doesn't know who to cover. So on day one, the media doesn't know anybody yet. So they're going to meet with you for coffee on day one because they're all very shy, introverted journalists who are around 4,000 salespeople at booths. They don't know who to talk to, but they'll talk to you.
That's awesome. I loved what you said. You were telling one of the guys that was in your group. His biggest challenge is people are paralyzed and afraid to act. Any other thoughts on how to deal with those folks?
In terms of employees that are paralyzed and afraid to act?
Yeah, either employees or maybe other people that are on your team that might be partners or whatever.
One great one, I call it the letter to Santa. If you ask, any 4-year-old kid, what happened at Christmas? Well, Santa brought me everything that was on my letter. It was incredible. And they think that somehow Santa read this letter that they wrote. Well, the reality is the mom read all the things that were on the letter and then helped the kid go mail the letter. And the kid thinks it magically goes to Santa, and the mom bought everything that was on the letter. So instead of the mom and dad trying to figure out what the kid wants, they just buy what's on the letter. So in the business world, what I do is I turn to the employees and I say, okay, here's the deal. We got to grow. We're going to be in the top 5% in our industry. We know the COVID crisis, but it's time to act. We want you guys to come up with the ideas of all the that we're going to do to grow revenue, decrease expenses, decrease our cost of goods sold, increase our brand, come up with 5 things per area that are easy to implement, that don't take a lot of time or money. And I've always believed that momentum creates momentum. So it's just get a couple of these things out the door. You kind of get them into orbit. You get a whole bunch of things into orbit, and that momentum creates more momentum. The way to get the employees off their butt proactively going forward is get to them to come up with the ideas of what to do. they vote on the ideas and eliminate them back down to 5 in each category. They're now excited about the plan because they came up with the plan. Your job is to remove obstacles and help them put that stuff in place. Yeah, you have to train people on how to speak with the media. So you have to speak to the media in sound bites. You speak to the media in bullet points. You have to repeat your core 5 messages 5 times each. So as an example, if you want to talk, let's say there's one point that you want to get out, that you're the only network of the world with second in command, you have to repeat that, the only network of its kind in the world with second in command, 5 times so that it ends up in the story once. But often what happens to entrepreneurs, very often what happens to entrepreneurs, because they think out loud and they're high quick start Colbys, they just start talking and they're all over the place. You really have to teach them how to refine that pitch, stay on those 5 core bullet points so they end up in the story. Secondly is the journalist won't necessarily ask you the questions that you want to answer. You have to take whatever question they ask you and turn it into your answer. Right? So like I'll mention, like I could over the next 2 questions weave the titles of all 5 of my books into the answers just by being a little bit artistic to get my 5 books mentioned, if that was my thought. Right? You know, a good example of that, one of the best things I've ever heard is a guy named John Roland taught me about how to land more speaking events. He said, when you're on stage, talk about people that booked you from speaking, or they saw me speaking at an event, so they booked me to speak at their event. He drops that in kind of as an "aw gee shucks" 3 times, and people keep booking him for speaking events. So that's how you deal with the press too, is you just get your sound bites into their mind.
That's great. Love it. What's one thing we can do for you?
Wow, one thing you do well, I pay a referral fee. So if anybody knows any good companies whose second in command should be in the COO Alliance, minimum criteria for membership is $5 million in revenue. And we've got members in from 5 countries, predominantly US and Canada. But if you know a good company whose COO should be in, either introduce me to them. I'll drop a link right now to one of our landing pages for the April event, which is a pure play online event they can come to. But I'd love any introductions. That's probably the core thing right now.
Okay, perfect. And as far as, thank you so much for coming on. I can't recommend your COO Alliance more, any more than it's just, it was a great thing. It really changed things for Tom, for us. So thank you for doing that. So all of the places, Cam, that people could get a hold of you, it would be COOalliance.com.
Yeah, COOalliance.com is the core website, or CameronHerold.com is my personal brand website. All 5 of my books, as I mentioned, are available on Amazon, Audible, and iTunes.
Okay.
And then my Second in Command podcast is a great resource as well. Everyone interviews the entrepreneur. I've always wanted the rest of the story, so we only interview COOs. And Deanna Rogers is actually going to be a guest on our podcast. I think she's booked to come on it next week.
Fantastic. That's awesome. Fantastic. I love it. Well, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And if they want to get a hold of you other than COO, or the podcast, do you have messaging or a website that's your personal site or anything like that?
Yeah, the CameronHerold.com is my personal site that they can come to. All
your books are listed there as well?
Yeah, Double Double was my first book. That's how to double your revenue and profit in 3 years or less. Seth Godin wrote the front cover testimonial for that. Meetings Suck, which is the book that every one of your employees needs to read so they actually understand how to run meetings and how to attend them and participate in them. It's funny because when Elon Musk came out about a year ago and said that if you're in a meeting, you can stand up and leave the meeting, I sent him a text message. His brother used to work for me 20 years ago. I sent Elon a text. I'm like, dude, you don't tell people to leave meetings. You fix the meetings so they're not in meetings to leave them. He's like, oh, you're right. And then I co-authored The Miracle Morning for Entrepreneurs with Hal Elrod, the book Free PR that we've been talking about, and then lastly, Vivid Vision, which is a really powerful tool to come out of this recession that we're going into.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thanks again, man. Really, really, really appreciate you being here.
Thanks, guys.
Fun. Cool. I hope this was helpful for you, and we'll see you soon.
You've been listening to Business Lunch with Roland Frasier. If you're enjoying the show, let us know by subscribing and leaving a review. And for more information, go to businesslunchpodcast.com. Thank you for listening.